Annette and welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 brands that are on the glow up. These are brands that, they've been around and maybe people knew about them, maybe people were aware of them, but they weren't really checking for them, like, okay, whatever. And now they're doing some stuff and now they're on people's radars and people have taken notice and they're like, oh, okay, I didn't know you were coming with all that. All right, hello. So I'm going to be talking about 5 such brands. If you like these types of videos, then please consider subscribing because I'm here every Saturday doing makeup hauls, swatches, tutorials, and reviews. Now, brand number 1, in no particular order. Brand number 1. Sydney Grace. Now, Sydney Grace is an indie brand that's been a while for a minute. They've been a while for a minute. And they actually had a name change. They used to be Feather River Body, and they changed their name a few years ago to Sydney Grace. Now, it's owned, I think, by 2 sisters, and they started off doing eyeshadow singles, and I have been supporting them since then, since they were Feather River Body. I have some singles from them, and the quality has always been good. Like, the mattes have been great, pigmented, blendable, the shimmers have been nice. So I've been checking for Sydney Grace since before the name change. Okay, so not new here. I knew about them already. But it seemed like the community at large, there were people that knew about them. You maybe had some indie YouTubers that were talking about them, but they didn't have a whole lot of chitter chatter. And then they started doing eyeshadow palettes. And I feel like once they started doing eyeshadow palettes, then people sort of kind of started to get to find out about them. And I really think that YouTubers, the YouTube community of beauty influencers, were slower, especially the big influencers were definitely a lot slower to find out about them. But we little people, we who do indies and don't get PR and stuff, we all read to new. You know what I'm saying? So they started doing palettes, and then they collabed with the beloved Mel Thompson and did a palette with her not too long ago. The Tiny Marvels palette, which was super popular, sold out. They have restocked it. It's now available, and it got a lot of good reviews, not just for the quality, because Sydney Grace has always had good quality, but for the color story was a little different, and the packaging was different, and it was Mel. So yeah, and now they have since collaborated with Temptalia. Last year they collaborated with her and came out with 2 beautiful palettes, came out with 3 beautiful palettes. Some people were disappointed that the palettes were all fairly similar in color story, but I picked up 2 myself, and again, the quality is amazing. I saw these palettes on a few YouTubers' best of eyeshadow palettes of 2021, so I definitely think they've made some inroads. They've become more popular, but just more noticeable. More people have taken note of them, and they've actually got a new palette coming out that we'll talk about in another video. That looks very interesting. So Sydney Grace, definitely think they are one on the glow up. Brand number 2 that I think is a little bit, they're doing a little bit of a glow up. Stay with me here. Sigma brushes. Are they still considered Sigma brushes, or now they just Sigma? I'm not sure, but Sigma has been around for a while now, but they have primarily been known for brushes. I know when I first started watching YouTube, 5 years ago? No, longer than that. Some years ago, you were more, you heard a little bit more about them. This was before Morphe. So like Jaclyn Hill, in the early days of Jaclyn Hill, she repped hard for Sigma. And one of the first, my early videos here as a content creator, I did hauls on Sigma brushes. And Sigma brushes, they've always been known for their brushes. They have great quality. synthetic brushes that I have Sigma brushes that I've had for over 5 years, way longer, and they are amazing. So they were definitely known a bit, and then when Morphe came along, Morphe just blew Sigma and everybody else right out of the water with their marketing strategy. So everybody was about Morphe, 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 Morphe brushes, and they're cheaper. But Sigma has always been around. They've continued with their great quality of brushes. The quality hasn't changed. They've expanded their line. I've in recent years bought new brushes from Sigma, brushes that weren't in their line before. They've changed old brushes, and yeah, they were I mean, when you're comparing them to Morphe, right? Yes, they're at a more of a premium price point, but the quality, it's still much better. And now, in the last couple of years, Sigma has come out with eyeshadow palettes. Now, not that eyeshadow palettes have been new to them, but more recently they've changed the design of these palettes. They've got these palettes going on now. They've got some other, like, I want to say 9-pan. Are they 9-pan or 12-pan? More square palettes. But these palettes, with the beautiful packaging and the color stories and the double-sided brush that gets included with them, they kind of took a page out of Anastasia Beverly Hills' book, right? With their palettes. Beautiful, beautiful designs, beautiful color stories, and a nice eyeshadow quality. Now, is it the best eyeshadow formula I've ever tried? No, but is it nice? Yes. And is it appealing to the masses? Yes. And they've come out with cool tone palettes. They've come out with warmer tone palettes, the Corderosa, and the beautiful packaging. So I definitely feel like where you didn't really hear about Sigma, especially on YouTube anymore, now more YouTubers and more people in the community, in the beauty community, are taking note of Sigma, because I think these eyeshadow palettes have kind of brought them a little more into the forefront, and people are now looking at Sigma a little bit like, okay, that's cute. Okay, Sigma, I see you. The next brand experiencing a bit of a glow up, BH Cosmetics. Yes, now again, BH Cosmetics has been around. They were one of the first brands that I purchased eyeshadow palettes from. I just did a whole declutter. If I haven't published it yet, it's coming. If I have, I'll link it up here for you to see. I do have a BH Cosmetics collection and some early palettes that, you know, I've decluttered since. But so yeah, they've been around, and they've really been known for their affordability. Like they're pretty daggone affordable. Their brushes, they've always had nice brushes. I have some in my collection. Used one of them today. Okay, one of them is a mainstay. It's a staple. Okay, when I do my makeup. So you know, they've always had nice brushes, and they've had makeup products at a very affordable price. But it has only been more recently that they did a little something to their eyeshadow formula, and now people are like, okay, hold up, is this BH Cosmetics? Is this a BH Cosmetics palette? And I feel like it started to turn around for them with the Sweet Shop series, and I did purchase 2 of those palettes. So these were they had a whole bunch of them. Monochromatic eyeshadow palettes with a mix of mattes and metallics, and they had orange, they had green, they had blue. I got the green and I got the blue, and they had pinks, and they had a little series of them. And I feel like this was the first launch where people started taking notice, like, okay, hold up. Okay, BH, wait, what? This is a BH palette? The formula in these are so good, okay? And the price, still affordable. I mean, they sold out. This pistachio palette was, okay, hurry. When you're restocking, hello, sold out forever. And they did bring them back. I think they were supposed to be limited edition, and the response and the demand for them was so much that they brought them back. Really, really good. And now they have these, they came out with the holiday eyeshadow palette last year, which was the Naughty palette, which looked so pretty. And I don't own it, but everyone that I have seen review that palette absolutely loves it, talks about that amazing formula that just seemed to come out of nowhere. And then this year's holiday palette, the Lit List, my girl Monique, okay, she can't put that palette down. And then the travel series, they had a travel series of palettes late last year, and people seem to really love those too. So somebody went back into the lab at BH Cosmetics and they were like, okay, let me do a little something with this formula. And they created something that people have really responded to. So I don't know what y'all did, but make sure you keep doing it because they are definitely on the glow up. Viseart. Yes, Viseart. Now, Viseart is a brand that I think for the most part, they were just for pros. They were marketing towards the professional makeup artists. They don't care nothing about you and me, okay, playing in makeup. They are about the pros, all right? So their eyeshadow palettes that they were releasing wasn't for us, it was for pros, right? So this is, I think the first one that I purchased from them, the Dark Mattes. And yeah, this is what it looked like. Plastic packaging, see-through, no frills, nothing interesting or special. And here are your eyeshadows. And people were in the everyday consumer community was like, $80. They want $80 for that, and it's plastic see-through packaging. I don't think so. But guess what? It wasn't for you, okay? It wasn't for us. And so yeah, and I'm sure they were doing well, doing just fine, putting out professional palette after professional palette. They had a bridal palette, they got neutral palettes, they got all kind of 12-pan palettes, and they didn't care nothing about you not liking their price or their packaging. But in later years and more recent years, Viseart has definitely taken a turn where they are now marketing more towards us, the everyday average consumer, the makeup lover, maybe the woman that likes to put on a little neutral eye look before going to work. Now they're marketing towards the masses, not just the pros, and that's evident in their packaging and the different sizing of palettes now that they're doing. So they have their petite pro palettes, right? These were a lot cheaper, a lot smaller, but a lot less expensive. Still expensive, still high-end brand, luxury brand type pricing, but smaller and a little more accessible. And their eyeshadow quality is arguably one of the best, okay, especially when it comes to their mattes. So for that money, you are definitely getting some great quality. And then there's the Edit palettes now, and look at the packaging, right? Packaging has definitely changed. So they've even changed the packaging somewhat of their 12-pan Pro eyeshadow palettes, because yes, it's still plastic, it's still see-through. This is the original, this is the more updated version, but it's a little more round. Now they're magnetic and you can pop them all out and change them around as you like. And these palettes for the more everyday consumer have really pretty packaging now. And look at the color stories. They're even changing up the color stories a little bit. Look at that. How beautiful. And then this is the Bijouette. And then another one of their most recent releases. This is the Paris Etoile. Look at this cool tone smokiness right here. Like, who doing that? What mainstream brand is doing all of this? Not many. So Viseart is definitely coming for our pockets, the everyday average consumer pockets, especially with now the sales that they have, and that just might be part of the pandemic. And you know, people, it's rough out in these streets right now. So they've been having a lot of sales where you can get these palettes for 30% off, 20% off, 40% off. There's a little discount for everyone. So I definitely think Viseart has definitely branched out, and more people are talking about them, and more people are buying them. So another brand on the glow up. And our fifth brand that has been experienced quite a bit of a glow up is Danessa Myricks, an indie brand, another indie brand. And now Danessa Myricks, professional makeup artist, black woman, an indie brand. And I still remember meeting her like 5 years ago now at IMATS. Didn't know who she was, which means absolutely nothing because I'm a nobody. Okay, and yeah, buying my first product from her. And I feel like in recent years, you know, people have started to learn and hear more and find out a little bit more about Danessa Myricks. And now homegirl is in Sephora. So I mean, big deal as an indie brand, as a black woman, to now be in Sephora. And she is putting out beautiful quality makeup. She's got the Balm Contour, which I have, which is the bomb. She's got cream bronzers. She's got all of her highlighting products that she's had since 5 years ago when I first purchased one from her. She had the highlighting palette. I think that might have been the Light Work 1 or 2, the multi highlighter palette that I feel like is the first product that sort of kind of started to bring her into people's awareness, like, okay, because it's a beautiful palette and it is really more, I think, for pros, but gorgeous. I mean, you have ABH that would have been doing the highlight palettes forever, and now this highlighter palette for her, I think, is really what started to get people to notice her. And then last year she came out with the Lightwork 3 palette, and hunty, this palette, of course, was on my list of my favorite palette of 2021, the most exciting launch of 2021, in my humble opinion. And I've seen this palette on a lot of other beauty YouTubers' list of best of or favorites as well. And what I love about Danessa Myricks is that she's a more mainstream indie brand now. Once you hit Sephora, you are definitely more mainstream. But she's a mainstream indie that's bringing indie to the mainstream. This palette right here with 5 multi-chromes, hello, what other mainstream brand is doing that? I'll tell you, none, no other. She got cream shades here, she's got a pressed glitter, she got holographic shadows. This is definitely an indie product that is more high-end mainstream. And she's just, her latest release, multi-chrome eyeliners. What other mainstream brand is doing that? I mean, that is definitely indie, okay? So she has managed to remain indie, cross over, become more mainstream, but still bring the indie into the mainstream and introducing it to the masses. Now, are multi-chrome eyeliners anything new? No, I mean, indie brands have them. Very small indie brands have them. I have some sugar drizzle polish, right? There are other small indie brands doing that, but she is now taking those indie products, and she's bringing them to the mainstream. And honey, it's working because people are, okay, Danessa, I mean, I know for me, I'm checking to see, well, what else is she going to? Because I'm interested. As someone who likes mainstream products, but also loves indie, I'm loving that there's a mainstream indie brand that's kind of meshing the two and bringing the two together. So those are my 5 brands that I feel like are on the glow up. Let me know in the comments, do you agree or disagree with any of my choices? And what are some of your brands that you believe are now experiencing a bit of glow up of their own? If you like this video, please give it a like. and consider subscribing. I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you again next week. Until then, bye-bye.